Bill Gates had a lot of skeletons in his closet. Epstein knew about at least one of them and tried to blackmail him. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. Let me begin by saying this episode is definitely getting demonetized. But I can keep making episodes like this because of your support on Patreon. Help us make this show possible with as little as $1 per episode over on patreon.com/AmericaUncovered. Bill Gates has become a household name. He's the co-founder and former CEO of Microsoft, a reputed philanthropist, and at first glance, a nice family guy. And I'm not just saying that because he looks like someone deflated Peter Griffin. Anyway, he seemed like a nice family guy until reports started coming out about how he cheated on his wife with a Microsoft employee. Bill Gates hooked up with Clippy? I always thought Clippy was just helpful. Turns out he's a homewrecker. Gates also reportedly asked out several other women in his office. Gates' taste in women wasn't limited to just the workplace, though. Earlier this week, the Wall Street Journal reported that Gates had another affair, this time with a Russian bridge player named Mila Antonova. According to a speech posted in 2010, Antonova said she met Gates at a bridge tournament in 2009. Antonova was in her 20s at the time.
2 years ago, I said to everyone that I'm going to meet this guy. Nobody believed me. Last year, I played against him at the same table at the National Bridge Tournament in Washington, D.C. I didn't beat him, but I tried to kick him with my leg.
Now, this 13-year-old video is garnering renewed attention for obvious reasons. People are shocked the Wendy's mascot is doing stand-up now. Maybe she'll tour with Ronald and the Arby's hat as the $2 menu comedy tour. So Gates and Antonova met at a bridge tournament. How do we know they had an affair? Well, according to the Wall Street Journal, deceased pedophile Jeffrey Epstein somehow discovered the affair and appears to have threatened Gates over it. And the guilt of doing something so shady is obviously why he, for sure, killed himself. He felt so bad he somehow broke his own neck. Tale as old as time. It's no secret that Epstein and Gates had some sort of relationship. Gates, of course, has tried to distance himself from Epstein.
Can you explain your relationship with Epstein? Did you have any concerns? Was there ever any concerns you had about it?
Oh, certainly. I had several dinners with him, hoping that what he said about getting billions of philanthropy for global health through contacts that he had might emerge. When it looked like that wasn't a real thing, that relationship ended. But it was a huge mistake to spend time with him, to give him the credibility of, being there.
He's also tried to downplay the length of their relationship.
That goes back a long time ago now. So there's nothing new on that.
It was reported that you continued to meet with him over several years.
Yes, he did. Many times, despite Epstein's past. According to the New York Times, Gates first met Epstein in 2011, 3 years after Epstein's conviction, and he stopped talking to Epstein only in 2014. So that's a 3-year relationship between the two. But to be fair to Bill, it is a bit stalkerish to go around doing in-depth background checks on everyone you meet. Maybe he didn't know about Epstein's past. Except it would appear Epstein was upfront about that. He just told one of Gates' teams that what he had done was no worse than stealing a bagel. Soliciting prostitution from an underage girl is no worse than stealing a bagel. Quite an interesting moral compass. I guess instead of pointing north, it points to hell. Despite that information, Gates did eventually meet with Epstein personally, and that kept up. According to the Wall Street Journal, Gates had more than half a dozen meetings scheduled with Epstein between 2011 and 2014. It's not confirmed how many of those meetings actually occurred. However, the New York Times reported that Gates met with Epstein at least 3 times at Epstein's Manhattan townhouse. and had a private conversation with Epstein at a TED conference in California. I assume the conversation went something like this. Boy, can you believe schools are killing creativity? TED Talks are so educational. Anyways, shame on you and goodbye forever. On top of that, flight records in March 2013 showed that Gates flew on Epstein's Gulfstream plane from New Jersey to Florida. Of course, a lot of people flew on Epstein's plane, dubbed the Lolita Express. Epstein's plane was a more successful mass transit system than the Los Angeles subway. The joke there is, I'm not even sure if I'm wrong. But that same month, the two men met in France with an official on the Nobel Peace Prize Committee. Wow, I can't believe someone on the committee that gave a peace prize to a president known for drones striking civilians would be a poor judge of character. In another report released earlier this month, the Wall Street Journal also revealed that Epstein scheduled a full day of meetings for him and Bill Gates together on September 8, 2014, with a bunch of other rich and powerful men. So Gates definitely had something going on with Epstein. They were scheduled to see each other more often than I see my best friend. And my best friend isn't a convicted felon. He got away with everything. It wasn't just Gates. Other people connected to Gates were also connected to Epstein, eventually leading to Epstein's attempt at blackmailing Gates over Antonova. I'll explain how after the break. Welcome back. The Wall Street Journal reported that Epstein tried to threaten Bill Gates over his affair with bridge player Mila Antonova. But how did Epstein know that they were having an affair? We don't know, at least for now, but what we do know is that Epstein met Antonova through people connected to Gates. As it turns out, Epstein and Gates had a lot of mutual connections. Sorry, when I hear Epstein and mutual connections in the same sentence, my brain immediately goes to some gross, dark places. One of those mutual connections was Melanie Walker, who worked at the Gates Foundation. According to the New York Times, Walker met Epstein in 1992, 6 months after graduating from the University of Texas. Walker told the New York Times that Epstein knew Lex Wexner, the owner of Victoria's Secret, and offered Walker the chance to audition for a modeling job there. Later, she stayed in a Manhattan apartment building that Epstein owned and became Epstein's science advisor after graduating from medical school. I can make a joke about that, but it's so upsetting. I'm just going to give you the ingredients and let you assemble it yourself. Epstein's secret, anatomy, DNA. There, knock yourself out. Later, Walker worked for the Gates Foundation, where she met Boris Nikolic, a biotech investor and advisor to Gates. Walker introduced Epstein to Nikolic, who was later named as executor of Epstein's will. According to the Wall Street Journal, Nikolic introduced Antonova to Epstein to help her raise $500,000 to create an online business that would teach people how to play bridge. Or, they could do it on YouTube for free. Antonova and Nikolic met at Epstein's townhouse in November 2013, where she presented her proposal to Epstein and got feedback. So, Walker to Nikolic to Antonova, all back to Epstein. Man, Epstein's connections are like the darkest game of 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon of all time. Antonova ultimately didn't get the investment, but for some reason, Epstein provided her an apartment in New York City. He also agreed to pay for Antonova's software programming tuition. When Antonova asked why, Epstein said he was wealthy and wanted to help people when he could. Because he was such a good person. That's why blackmailing Bill Gates made him feel so guilty, he definitely, for sure, 100% unquestionably killed himself. No doubt. There's no way Epstein's forking over all that cheddar on behalf of Antonova could allow him to better keep track of her movements just in case he might need to use her as a pawn in some nefarious scheme in the foreseeable future, obviously. But around this time, Epstein was trying to set up a multi-billion-dollar charitable fund with J.P. Morgan. Epstein wanted to get Gates on board, but Gates didn't bite. So, Epstein took advantage of another connection he made thanks to ex-Microsoft Vice President Linda Stone. Stone introduced Epstein to the director of MIT Media Lab, Joey Ito, in 2013. According to internal emails, Epstein's directed a $2 million gift to MIT Media Lab, allegedly from Bill Gates in October 2014. Was it actually from Gates? We can't say for sure. But this directed gift was in addition to $1.2 million directly from Epstein to Ito. The center was more than glad to receive the money coming from Epstein while also concealing its relationship with him. When this story came to light, Gates denied that Epstein directed grants for him, and things grew sour after that. The New York Times reported that Epstein complained at the end of 2014 that Gates stopped talking to him. And I'm complaining in the middle of 2023 that it took Gates 3 years to stop talking to a convicted sex offender who described soliciting prostitution from underage girls as no worse than stealing a bagel. Yeah, maybe if it's a poppy seed bagel and you're using the poppies to make and get kids hooked on heroin. This may have led to a shift towards playing dirty against Gates, though it's not as if Epstein was ever clean in the first place. I can make a callback to a joke about that, but it's so upsetting, I'll let you reassemble it for yourself. Epstein's secret, anatomy, DNA. There. Knock yourself out. Again. According to the Wall Street Journal, citing people familiar with the matter, in 2017, Epstein sent an email to Gates asking to be reimbursed for the costs of Antonova's coding school. And the tone of the message was that Epstein knew about the affair and could expose it. We don't know exactly how Gates responded or if he responded at all, but a spokeswoman for Gates said Epstein tried unsuccessfully to leverage a past relationship to threaten him. So Epstein lured rich and powerful people with promises of money, connections, and underage girls, and then used that to blackmail them. Nice guy. I wonder why we don't have his client list yet. Probably because some home-wrecking hussy is keeping it under wraps. So what do you think of Gates' ties to Epstein? Leave your comments below. And remember that we rely mainly on direct support from viewers like you. If you want to help us deliver nonpartisan news, all it takes is as little as $1 per episode over on our crowdfunding website, Patreon. Visit patreon.com/America Uncovered for more. Click the link below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.